Aloha, y'all. What up? It is Monday, ruled by the moon, Moon Day, right? Hence the name. The 25th of January, which according to the dream spell of the Mayans is a white electric wind guided by death, but it is a root chakra day, the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra. So if you do the mantras, which in this case is Lam, and think about your physical security, groundedness, the root of your being, do the mudras. In this case, it's kind of like that. On this moon day, you can ground into your root chakra and use the magic, like I said, of the Mayan dream spell, which is a white electric wind guided by death. That it can doing those things, chakra chants, being aware of the zeitgeist at all, uh, allows for very much awareness. What up, Sorrel? So the sun is in Aquarius, moon's in the last degrees of Gemini, Mercury is also in the last degrees of Aquarius. Venus is in Capricorn, Mars is in Taurus, Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius, Uranus is in Taurus, Neptune's in Pisces, Pluto's in Capricorn, and the North Node is in Gemini. So, let's go ahead and pull some cards for the day. Um, the Sun is in Aquarius, the Moon is, like I said, the last degrees of Gemini, so it's airy, but it's about to kick into Mercury, or rather the Moon in Cancer, so super moody. But that'll be not right, soon, but not right now. And Mercury is about to pop out of Aquarius and go into Pisces, which will be super intuitive. Interesting shifts from all this air intellect to water very soon. We've got the Three of Wands. Wands are fire. It's the spirit, right? So if you're an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, you are a wand, so to speak. You will resonate naturally with the suit. And the Three of Wands is as follows: grasping the opportunity, putting your plan into motion, giving the idea space to breathe and find its own path. Three of Wands, I expand my horizons. The Three of Wands suggests you are moving ahead with success, confident you are aligning your skills and talent to achieve something of value, not only for yourself, but for others too. Whether you have set your sights on furthering a career or business to support yourself and perhaps other dependents, you feel that you are being called by life to manifest something of significance. You sense a growing purposefulness in your character, having clearly understood what is important to you and how you might change some small part of the world in front of you for the better. With the sun in Aquarius, we have this eagle-eye view, the highest air. It goes Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Aquarius has this spaceship view from the highest atmosphere. I mean, this is almost like he's looking down on a valley and a whole journey. He's up on top of a cliff face, let's just say, a perch, and looking ahead and saying, look at the journey ahead of me. I see it all. Sun and Mercury and Aquarius, as well as Saturn and Jupiter. In the card artwork, a strong figure stands with his back to us, overlooking a mystical cityscape of jeweled towers and turrets. A wand is held securely in his left hand, an offering or signal. A series of extraordinary tentacled creatures hover before him, emanating energy that traces that warp the sky. From the calm, solid countenance of the man, we can assume these creatures or mystical entities are benevolent and are attracted to him. Very Aquarius, alien energy. Look, there's the aliens. Monsters, whatever, something alien to us. It's as if, but they're friends, still Aquarius, North Node Gemini. It's as if they are there to bestow some gift or exchange, and we see that one drawing close on his left is releasing a shower of gold pieces. Venus in Capricorn, here's some wealth, prosperity. This figure stands in his power, confident and ready to receive the riches and energy they bring, because he is clear about the greater purpose this abundance will serve. Gemini Moon, a Sun, and a Mercury in Aquarius, where he can see the bigger picture. He's fully mentally cognizant, though in the Three of Wands, spirited. His heart is fully aware of the journey and the riches ahead. In his book Power versus Force, the professor David R.H. Hawkins describes how influential and powerful figures in the world emanate warmth, sincerity, and openness, treating everyone as an equal, and above all, aware of the responsibilities of their position. This success carries with it the opportunity and obligation to be the very best one can be. He points out that very successful people realize they are a channel acted through to create success in the outer world with little anxiety about losing their status and success. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Like, we're being animated by energy and consciousness to act out certain things. That's why we shouldn't take it too personally, quite frankly, in a lot of ways. He points out the very successful, they realize they're a channel, right, for success, and they don't hold on to it too tightly, and they don't grapple for it. They just kind of go with the flow. This solid confidence comes from the knowledge that the source of their success is inside them, a quality of being rather than something out there that they need to exercise control over. There is a clear distinction to be made. Force is something you have to apply to move something, to gain momentum. Power, on the other hand, is something that you emanate and have readily access to anywhere. Pushing away versus pulling in. When the factors of power are fully understood, all fear of threat or being diminished by circumstances fades away and you can move forward. An example of true power is seen in the logic-defying strength of great energy masters practicing Qigong. After often, small, seemingly fragile people can withstand even the most sustained and violent attack without any need to resist with force because they are able to channel chi, the flow of energy in the universe, through themselves. The Three of Wands calls you to connect with your inner power, the attractive force that draws things towards you and enables you to expand your horizons. Work on crafting a compelling vision for yourself that inspires and empowers you to develop your talents, your connections, and attracts the people, resources, and opportunities you deserve. Right? The Aquarius is bringing in that electric power of genius from on high, knowing that it's a conduit for consciousness. Three of Wands, grasping the opportunity, putting your plan into motion, giving the idea space to breathe and find its own path. Right? So when we kind of sit back and ground in the Muladhara, the root chakra, which is the day, when we kind of get into this grounded place, we act as a ground for the electricity of spirit, if you want to put it that way, the Three of Wands, and we are actually the spirit in the flesh made manifest through action, if you want to put it that way. Right, so the Three of Wands is, I always kind of look at this as like Bilbo and Frodo at the beginning of their journey where they've left the Shire and they've kind of accomplished something. So it's not the one, it's like the three, they're in process, but they realize how much of a journey they have, how much heart it's going to take. There's obstacles, there's elves that will help, there's good and bad and all sorts of in between that they got to get to Mordor, right? So it's the vision of the journey that they are now, they're starting to see it and with their heart go for it, which is what we're being called to do on this moon day. Let's go ahead and get a clarifier. Hopefully you're all doing well. Getting notifications of my own live, how meta. We are in a Mercury retrograde shadow period, so it's likely that glitches and weird shit will start occurring. But don't let that stop you from living life. Being aware is not the same thing as being victimized by that knowledge. 9 of Earth is what we're getting. She's got her third eye open, Aquarius, kind of Sun, Mercury. She's got the genius, the third eye open. Uranus kind of rules the third eye in that stuff. So, hold on. What is it? 9 of Earth. Oh, I just passed it. There it is. All right, 9 of Earth. Altruism, generosity, charity, giving, receiving, selflessness, benevolence, humility, and self-love. Very moon day energy, right? Nurturance, but in a grounded way. Key phrases. How important are your material possessions? Support a worthy charitable cause. Give away all that is no longer needed. This is cutting away, the dross and to get the refiner's gold, or cutting, pruning the bonsai so that it grows in a way that you would prefer. Give without bias or expectation. That's unconditional love. Heal self by helping others. Skeletons in the closet. Charity begins with you, and address any health concerns. The 9 of Earth represents altruism, charity, and generosity. Have you suddenly found that your life is full of harmony? You are creative and happy at this time. Abundance and true wealth surround you. Venus and Capricorn. It's like you are hitting the lottery and it's working because you're being authentic Aquarius Sun with new ideas and playfulness, hopefully North Node and Moon and Gemini. Material possessions are less important than they once were. Yet you want for nothing and have no need or desire for more. Instead, you choose to serve a higher purpose and give to others who have less. To help others in need or to support a worthy charitable cause is an act of a generous and caring spirit, but who is worthy? Who is deserving? Do you give without bias or expectation? Do you give equally to all in need? Or is your generosity conditional? What is it that you seek to gain from the act of giving? These are the questions the 9 of Earth asks you to consider. And with the Moon and Gemini, we can actually kind of see how we operate with others, right? North Node. Are we playing nice with others on the playground, or are we just nice to our friends and mean to our enemies, like Mean Girls, the movie? It's easy to like your friends. That's why they are friends. But are you doing that with people you disagree with, people on the other side of a political aisle, or people who believe in a very different religion or whatever than you? People who are differently alchemically wired. I'm very air, right? Gemini, Sun and Moon, Aquarius and Jupiter. So it's like I've got a lot of electric air energy. Now, what happens when I get involved with somebody who's very watery or fiery or earthy, right? Like, am I playing well with them, or am I only friends with them if they understand me? No one understands anybody. Get that through your head. But we're all on a journey of becoming through spirit in the flesh. Three of Wands. It's an adventure. The greatest adventure. Right? So, yeah, she kind of does look like she's doing some mushroom tea in a way. Super psychedelic looking in a way. So, um, an act of charity born from compassion can be transforming. To know that you have played a role in helping others can inspire a sense of deep satisfaction and well being. Helping others, loving your enemy, all this stuff, Gemini moon. It's like treating others as yourself. It can be healing not only for those who are helped, i.e., your enemy or friend or whatever, but for those who help the person doing the action. However, in some, it can also give rise to a sense of entitlement and self importance. Those are the people who are like, I give to the poor. Do you? It's like that's not the right. That's still come from a bad place. At least you're doing right action and other people benefiting, but ultimately that's ego driven and not like spirit driven. It can inspire a belief and acknowledgement and praise should be given. Altruism is the selfless act of giving, to give without expectation of reward, to give simply because you can and choose to, nothing more. The nine of earth, not because you're going to go to heaven, not because you're going to get a tax write-off, not because people are going to like your post because you said I did X, Y, I donated all my clothes to charity. It's not like that. That's why the Bible says something like, let your left hand not know what your right hand is doing. It's like, do things without like consideration necessarily for the accolade in the world. Though accolade isn't bad in and of itself, but it shouldn't be the motivating factor, or else because you'll never please everybody, and then you'll just be in the cycle of like trying to please other people and doing the wrong thing or doing right things for the wrong reasons. At least they're the right things, but they're for the wrong reasons. So if you like, for example, if you tithe because you want other people to know that you're tithing, or if you whatever fast and you're like, look at how much I'm fasting, it's like you're missing the fucking point. It's the bottom line. All right, so. The Nine of Earth signifies that it might be time to go through your cupboards and remove all that you no longer need and do not use. Give to local charitable organizations that work to help those in need within your community. And if you have any skeletons in those cupboards, it might be also wise to deal with them too. We are about to go into Mercury retrograde, so definitely communications. It seems in my life, X's start coming out of the woodwork or whatever. So beware of that coming on. But the energy is still positive and heart driven, where it's like, yo, let's go on the adventure. But are you, Frodo's like, I'll take the ring and destroy it, but he's not doing that. So he's like, make sure you write stories about me. Make sure I'm the hero of all your hearts. He's being altruistic. He's like, this has to be done, and I'm doing it for me and you. I love this world, and I don't want it to die. I'm not really worried about like praise in that sense. Though praise comes, everyone's like, Frodo, you're so fucking brave. But he's taken the journey because he knows it's the right thing to do. Nine of Earth, the right thing to do. Charity and generosity from a heart place and spirit place, not so much a mental place. Though he has his reasons. He doesn't want Mordor to like take over his shire. So I mean, still has self-interest involved. Nobody has no ego. Everybody has an ego. Double negative suck. Everybody has an ego. Don't trip on that. It is what it is. It's an operating system. Learning to nurture. The moon is about to enter Cancer, right? It's in Gemini. It's about to enter Cancer. So we're learning to nurture, to love ourselves and give to ourselves as well as to others. And we're doing that through an adventure of spirit. We're saying, what excites me? And the people who need my electric excitement and my adventure, I can tap into and learn to give to them freely, without being like, well, I'll give to you if you pay me. I'll give to you if you fuck me. I'll give to you if you approve of me. I'll give it to you if you tell everybody about it. Right? That's not what this is about. So 81. Zeta Reticuli, learning to nurture, present timeline, on page 120, 81. When the Zetas turned off their emotions in the ancient days and lost the ability to procreate, they also lost the understanding of how to nurture. With the Sun, Mercury in Aquarius, Saturn, Jupiter in Aquarius, with the North Node in Gemini and the Moon in Gemini still, but barely, we might be so in our heads that we're like, it's highly illogical to do X, Y, Z. And it's like, we need to nurture ourselves and get out of our Spock mode. Later, when they began procreating again, they had no idea how to nurture their new children and relied on humans to help them. It was still an adventure, right? But they were like, yo, I don't know how to do this. Can you help? And the humans, it's kind of an exchange in this story, right? So humans help the Zetas learn how to nurture their children. That's the whole point of like abductions and whatever, according to this modal knowledge. Modality of knowledge. The issue of nurturance is an important one, but it isn't one-sided. We must nurture ourselves as well as each other. That is the 9 of Earth. Are you giving to yourself as much as you're giving to others? Are you giving to others as much as you're giving to yourself? Don't just give to others and never to yourself. Don't just do shit for yourself and never think of others, right? Nurture. We must nurture ourselves as well as each other. This card asks you to honestly look at your ability or resistance to nurturing yourself. If your needs are not met, you cannot be of service to others. It is time to honor your nurturing needs without guilt. In their darkest time in the past, the Zetas vowed never to feel emotion, thinking the emotion was the cause of their problems. That's when people cut off and they get in their heads and they go, I'm not going to feel anything. I'm just going to think. I'm going to find a way out logically. Sun and Mercury and Aquarius, right? It's very disassociative. Gemini moon. It's very mental. It causes, but being cut off from emotion always backfires. Let me repeat that. When you lose your heart, it backfires. Three of Wands is saying, go on the adventure with your heart, right? Because if you leave your heart behind, it gets shit show real quick. It causes isolation and tremendous desolation, as if you live in a desert with no source of nourishment. In physical reality, nurturing and the giving and receiving of love are forms of nourishment that are essential. With the help from humans, Zetas had to learn how to give and receive nurturing love. 9 of Earth. It's like, yo, here, take this cup. It got me woke. I did it for me first. I drank this psychedelic brew, and now here, you have it, or whatever. It's just like an idea. If you pulled this card, it could have several meanings. Most likely it refers to a tendency you might have to put everyone else first and never nurture yourself. If this is the case, then this card is a loud message that this must change. If you don't nurture yourself, you don't have the energy to assist others. It is time to see your own nurturing to be as important as the nurturing of others. Gemini moon. It's like do unto others. Do to yourself as you do to others. It is time to see your own nurturing as to be as important as the nurturing of others. An alternate meaning might be that you are so afraid to open your heart to nurturing from others because you don't want to get hurt. Typical, right? It's human. Don't feel bad. If so, this old pattern must be released. Go on the adventure of your heart. Three of Wands. And they can only go on the adventure if they're open to it. He'll just sit perched here and say, wow, look at that view, and never engage with going to Mordor and throwing in the ring if he doesn't open himself to giving and receiving altruistically for the experience. Right? And ultimately learning to nurture himself and others. This pattern must be released. If you have a particularly strong Zeta connection, this card may also refer to a lifetime you've lived during this era, or a Zeta being who's connected to you now. Whatever the meaning, begin to form a new relationship with the idea of nurturing, both of the self and others. Where it leads may be a pleasant surprise. Right? If we're in root chakra, rooted kind of place, we're going on the adventure with our heart, and we're being, we're doing unto others. We've got to be as compassionate to ourselves as others. That's the whole point. If we're nurturing, right, learning to nurture and care for ourselves and others, the dream goes very differently than if we don't do that. And there's karmic lessons on both sides. It's all school, so never think you're out of school, right? So the animal we're getting, though, is the seahorse, equality. North Node and Gemini, both in twins, right? Equality, number 14, seahorse. And this is an interesting story because it shows that fear can lead to, her fear prevented her from entering a nurturing situation, which ultimately was for her benefit. You'll see what I mean. Equality. Seek equality in relationships, in particular intimate ones. You will attract what you resonate. You can decide your future. Hiding from our fears is rarely a good strategy. Let me say that again. Hiding from our fears is rarely a good strategy. The adventure is calling. You can't just sit there and watch all along. There are times to sit under the Bodhi tree and meditate and contemplate and be still, but we are always in time moving forward, even though it's an illusion. I know paradoxes rip up people's heads, but deal with it. Hiding from our fears is rarely a good strategy. It is time to, which makes me think of that scene in Saving Private Ryan where the guy is like getting, the Jewish guy is about to get stabbed. He does get stabbed in the heart by a guy's knife. And there's a guy who's right on the other side of the wall who could have saved him, but he was too afraid. So hiding from his fear really didn't help him. He had guilt over that, and the other guy died. The Nazi committed an atrocity, right? It's like a three-way shit show. All right, so hiding from our fears is really a good strategy. It is time to ensure that the domestic and emotional labor in your world is shared equally. Moon and Gemini, North Node and Gemini. It's like, are we, reciprocity. Are we being fair to ourselves and others in a playful way? Mythos. It is said that the beautiful sea nymph Salacia was happy and content, and that she kept a sea garden of beautiful corals and seahorses. The king of all the seas, the great Neptune, saw her one day and set his heart upon her, wanting her for his wife. Three of Wands. I want this adventure with her. Not just, maybe he wants more than just to bang her, but at least he wanted her that way. Salacia was chaste and inexperienced and feared Neptune. So here, fear comes into the picture. She was afraid, and it's funny because Gemini Moon shows polarity. So she's a virgin, and he's like, a man that wants to find a girl. She was afraid that he would take her away from all she loved, or worse, like rape her and shit. So she hid from him in one of the furthest oceans. So her fear, right? It's saying earlier, hiding from our fears is really a good strategy. Here's a good example. She hid from her fear, right? She ran to the furthest ocean because she was afraid of Neptune. Neptune meant no harm or disrespect to Salacia and searched for her, sending his favorite dolphin to look. The dolphin found Salacia and her seahorses, and they explained her fears to him. They had a communication, Gemini and Moon. Gemini North Node, they talked it out, right? The dolphin assured them that they would be happy with Neptune and Salacia would not lose the thing she most loved. Salacia consented to the marriage, and Neptune loved and honored her. She wore pearls in her hair and rode in a pearl shell chariot drawn by both seahorses and dolphins to signify equal union, so her fears were misguided, although natural. The animal. If you have ever seen a seahorse in the flesh, you will attest to how wondrous these animals are. Very alien. Sun and Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and Aquarius. They're fish, technically, but they look like fucking space things. Swimming upright, this bony fish without scales has a distinctive horse-shaped head and a tail that they wrap around sea vegetation. They are very beautifully colored and can appear in a variety of colors. They range in size from 1.5 centimeters to more robust 14 centimeters, but all move in supremely delicate ways. Most have a propulsion system made up of a rapidly oscillating fin, and very Sun and Aquarius, we're talking about the mechanics of their motion, essentially very different than most fish. They have basically they have a rapidly oscillating fin, including a dorsal fin, and they often float with the current to get from place to place. They have no teeth and suck up their food. One of the most famous things about seahorses is their reproductive cycle and the high involvement of male in rearing their young. Seahorses have elaborate courtship rituals. Venus and Capricorn. There's a system to the love, a way to do it, right? Seahorses have elaborate courtship rituals that can last for many days prior to actual mating. When they are ready, the male opens his brood pouch, which contains the sperm. This is very alien and very different than what we're used to. We're used to like men insert and ejaculate and the woman bears the child. This is kind of different. When they are ready, the male opens his brood pouch, which contains the sperm, kind of sitting there chill. The female deposits her unfertilized eggs into the pouch and the clutch pauses. So she ejaculates the eggs, essentially. Psychedelic, I know, but don't just think there's one way to fucking cook her. Nature does all sorts of things. There's not just one way. The eggs are fertilized, and the babies, and that's what the North Node in Gemini is teaching us. The South Node in Sagittarius says there's one truth, there's one way, don't fuck with this. Tradition says so, thus says the Lord. Whereas the North Node in Gemini is like, hey, did you know there's a fish where the guys get pregnant, but it's still through their sperm? It's not like they've switched male polarity and female polarity. They still have the sexual orientation that's, quote, heterosexual, but their operative form is different. It's alien, a Sun in Aquarius, than normal, and it's for their both their benefits, Moon and North Node in Gemini. The eggs are fertilized, and the baby seahorses grow within the male's brood pouch, protected by him. His pouch makes him look quite pregnant. When they are at the sustainable age between 5 and 2,500 little seahorses are ejected from the pouch, so they're born. The magic, like most ocean-based elemental magic, the keys are flow and fluidity. However, seahorse magic can be best utilized around issues of equality. If you want to be seen as an equal, or you being discriminated against in sex, race, or status, you can ask for help of seahorse energy and receive balance and justice. And hopefully in a playful way. North Node in Gemini, both sides. Symbology: seahorse head, seahorse pulling a chariot, beautiful sea goddess with seahorses. Status: there are 43 species of seahorse, the majority of which are vulnerable or endangered. So this rare natural phenomenon is on its own weird adventure of the heart, where it says, in order for reciprocation, I'll help you, you help me. The men have learned to nurture. They're actually, imagine that's the male seahorse saying, this grew inside of me. Oh my God, I have such a connection to this thing. Even though it was sperm and the woman puts her eggs in, it's still the same dynamics of heterosexuality in that sense. But the male is the nurturer as opposed to the female in that fish, which is a very alien looking fish, Sun in Aquarius. The world is a wild, wonderful place if we have eyes to see. And there's lessons in all the pockets of the cosmos. Don't think the school is ever out. So let's get an art oracle card. We have Andy Warhol. This is a good example. I don't remember if he's a Gemini or not. For some reason, I feel like he is, but I forget. But this is some Gemini moon stuff. In Aquarius, very alien. Andy Warhol, it's weird because he was a devout Catholic, which most people don't know, but he also had this den of